We were just talking to Ryan Welpley, and he was like, I love CMA Fest. I get to go, all my artists, boom, boom, boom. What an experience for country music.
Absolutely. It's going to be an amazing event like it always is. I am very, very lucky that I actually get to think about all the conversations with the industry folks that I want to make sure that I have. Like, hey, tell me about this artist, or there are so many new artists. Right now, our team is working on a list of artists who are performing for the first time at Fest. It's somewhere north of 60 right now. And so it's like there are 60 individuals that are going to experience what we get to experience year over year for the first time. That will only happen once. So how are we also making that feel special or unique? We put this on for the fans, but I learned very, very quickly, especially when I went into the industry relations role, we're actually doing it for the industry too. It's the industry's festival.
This episode is brought to you by Gigs, the platform built for the live event industry. Whether you're a touring pro, an AV tech, or backstage crew just trying to get a job, Gigs is where you find real jobs from real employers. And if you're hiring, it's the easiest way to connect with vetted professionals who actually show up ready to work. Right now, we've got over 30,000 vetted professionals and thousands of companies already using Gigs, hiring successfully. What are you waiting for? Head to gigs.live to sign up today and take control of your career. Welcome to the Gigs podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Sanz, founder and CEO of Gigs, the professional career platform for the live event industry. We got Tiffany Kerns on today. She is the Senior Vice President of Industry Relations and Philanthropy at the Country Music Association and the Executive Director of the CMA Foundation. She leads strategic programming for CMA's 8,000 plus members and drives over $30 million in music education funding across all 50 states. Whether it's mental health support, DEI initiatives, or national advocacy for the next gen of creatives, Tiffany is doing the work that really makes a difference. Tiffany, welcome to the Gigs podcast.
Hello.
Dang, I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm pumped.
You have been just such a kind of a role model in this industry and in this town, watching the way that you speak, the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you dream too. It's really beautiful to be able to be around you. So thank you for doing this.
I feel the same way. So we're in great company.
I want to start with a big question.
Okay.
You've raised over $200 million. $200 million. What is the key to getting someone to really care deeply, to give generously?
It's actually quite simple. It's figuring out what they're passionate about. I think we overanalyze and often complicate things as humans. But at our core, we want to be seen, we want to be cared for, we want to make a difference. And so I think it's having conversations with individuals to say, what does legacy look like to you? How do you create change? What does impact look like? And when you're getting all of that information, you're then able to say, I think we can dream up something together. And they also like to be a part of it. I believe that anytime I've worked with a donor, they want to feel like they were a part of the dream versus just the result of a dream. And so I think it's interacting with humans. It's understanding human behavior. I think one of the incredible bosses that I had made me think and understand that we are so easy to predict. And so watching the behavior, like when someone says certain things, watching them light up, taking note of that, and not being afraid, by the way, to take copious amounts of notes when you're interacting with someone. So that way, when you come back to them, you didn't miss anything. And people love those details. When you're able to recall something that someone said or mentioned was important to them, they will show up for you differently.
Ooh.
And I think those are the things that make you successful in anything that you do. But typically when you are working with someone that is giving an extraordinary or very generous gift, they have to really believe that they are impacting change. And you have to believe that too. It isn't just, these are people, they're not products. And so they have feelings, they have emotions, play into that. But believe it. I am very fortunate that I have never been in a situation, nor would I ever put myself in a situation, I think, where I would be selling something I didn't believe in.
Right.
I really felt like individuals that were giving to support drug therapeutics pipeline to get drugs across the finish line, they were going to be saving lives. I really genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
And so I think that as long as you're articulating that to the individual and making sure you're storytelling along the way, I think you have them kind of in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, I mean, and if you are the person that they're directly talking to be involved in this dream, you kind of are the dream. Like, so if you make them feel special, it's like the whole organization values them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, again, humans are not, while we can be very complex, we're just so predictable.
Yeah.
And so it's showing up and going like, let's not get in our own heads. Like, at your core, you want to make a difference. So let's just talk through what that looks like. What feelings do I need to be paying attention to? When we use the term legacy, tell me what that means to you.
Yeah.
It's honestly being just a really good active listener. And I think that's anything in life, anytime you're dealing with people.
I'm going all the way back to when we first met and you told me just what you did before music world is fascinating, because I know that all of what you were doing there was studying human psychology to be able to be so powerful in what you're doing now. Can you speak on that?
But I think we've all done that, right? Like, I even remember when I was, little. I would have probably been in elementary school. And I remember my mother having a conversation. I can remember it felt like it was in the distance, which probably meant that it was like in another room or with an adult. And it was like, Tiffany is essentially just sitting people down and asking questions. And we're not really sure what she's trying to gain from it.
Whoa.
And I think that, again, it was almost like, if I know what the individuals are experiencing, or, and again, these are kids, but I've just always wanted to know more versus making assumptions about any group of individuals. Like, I've always been very perplexed, but people make me curious.
Mm-hmm. Even as a kid?
Yes. Wow. So I feel like even as I got older, I was so interested in going like, I think I'm going to hang out with a different group of kids this semester or this year. Or I was always drawn to like learn more about groups of individuals or just people in general. Like, it wasn't like this was my group and it had to stay my group. Like, I felt like I always wanted to surround myself in ways that would push me to never, I don't want to say to never be uncomfortable, but to be okay being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like, I never mind being the only one in the room that may not know something or may know everything. Like, I don't know. I just, people fascinate me.
Yeah.
And it's also why I'm drawn to roles where people are at the center of it.
Interesting.
So like athletics, you are banking on an individual, their ability. They're also chaos, right? Athletes are very similar to creatives, and that when you sit down with them, you're like, okay, I got to pull this out of you a bit. Like, because the thing that makes you really special is also the thing that's going to prevent you sometimes from being able to make the right decision every time. Politicians, very similar. It's why, like, it's about building really good teams that know how to influence your area of expertise, but also know how to strengthen and bolster what you're doing. And I think that can be applied to anything. If you're managing a team, you should be doing the same thing for, the department that you manage. If you are managing a project, same thing. Like, how do you bring the best out of everyone and also inventory the skill sets that everyone has, but all find forward motion in a connected mission?
Boom. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I also love that, like, you're always asking questions. I was in high school, I was like the question person. I always ask those weird superlative questions all the time, because I felt like also that normal conversation was so boring, or it could be.
Absolutely.
Why aren't we talking about what we want to do and be and like striving for? So I'm surprised you don't have a podcast mic in front of you if you love that.
I mean, I think I would, but I feel like I have no I would not be able to distill it down to
a subject.
No, because I'm so like, wait, tell me about this. Wait,
yeah.
What trauma did you have when you were 13 that made you change careers at 25? Like,
Totally.
I just think that for me, I've always been drawn to roles, again, where people are at the center of it and understand what they do is incredibly important, but if they don't have the right individuals around them, then success doesn't happen. And so for me, I think anytime someone looks at a resume, they're like, but how did you get into music? And I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily in music. I continued on a path that allows me to support people.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing it.
That's it. And the trade association is so fun on the CMA side because we are supporting every kind of person in our industry. And I think that's the part I really like is I'm not on an artist team solely focused on the artist's career. I'm also going like, I need the artist to be successful, but it would be crazy for me to think that you just think about the artist's success separate from thinking of the team. Like the bus driver, their mental health is important. Making sure that your whole tour family has the resources they need to be able to save for their future and for their families, incredibly important. Because when those things are not operating at 100%, it is felt by the artist. And we need the artist to create the thing that they are good at, which is music. But we have to take care of the people that bring that to fruition.
So you started out what was the role? I know you're in politics, but what was that role where you really got to the core of like getting to know people?
I think it was before I even started working.
Wow.
Truly, like I remember having a conversation with a mentor when I was in college. And actually this goes back, I even think about, I worked at JCPenney when I was in high school, loved it. And keep in mind, like I would have conversations with individuals who would say like, Tiffany, you could work at like a cooler store, like a PacSun or whatever. Again, I grew up in Florida. We were beach kids. But the thing I loved about working at JCPenney was I worked in the children's department. And so I got to know the families that would come in to buy for their children back to school, or as kids were phasing out of certain sizes, when little Johnny is no longer in a 10, but he's in a 12 Husky and like having to walk through that with the parents. I just loved feeling like I was a part of something bigger than ringing something up. And again, but I also said to myself, like, it is what you make it. I could show up and just be a cashier, or I could show up and make sure that I was making a difference, even though I was quote unquote just a cashier at JCPenney.
What would the difference be?
I think one is showing up with intention and the other one is showing up to be passive. And I don't do anything. I really try in my life to not do anything that's passive, which can be exhausting for anybody that is in my life. I totally understand that. But I think one is like you clock in, you clock out, you aren't paying attention to, you're showing up for yourself and you're not showing up for others. Whereas the other side of it was, I want to make sure that my interaction, like, how is your day going? Or I'm paying attention if someone is really short to go like, I have the opportunity to potentially change that. Like, it's just, again, it's how do you, for me, I've just always seen it as a, just for a challenge almost.
Yeah.
And so it just made not working 4 to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday while I was in school, like it just made it feel like I was doing something.
So you go JCPenney, what's after that?
UT, athletics, politics, biotech, music.
Wow, what a common theme in all of those. People.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and never being afraid. I don't believe that anyone should ever tell you that you have to stay in a lane.
Yeah.
In terms of industry. I believe that
Yeah, but it's tough with all of your connections. If you make connections in sports
Absolutely.
and politics, it's like you're entering into a brand new arena. Yeah.
But I think that it's everyone has to inventory and assess their skill sets.
Yeah.
And then where they're transferable. And I think some people are really good at being able to explain transferable than others. There's a young group of women that I just spoke to that are Alpha Chi's. I was in a sorority. Very much enjoyed it. Again, people, I loved it. I got a lot out of it. And I didn't have the experience based on what a lot of people think in terms of Greek life. All of that to say, I was talking to these young women and they're telling me some of the things that they do as part of this role that they play within the sorority. And they're like, but we don't know how to articulate it to any industry that we're going into. And I said, you manage conflict. Do you know how many people have no idea how to do that?
Yeah, right.
So start leading, get out of your head with, I'm trying to make them understand industry, and get in their head to say, like, I can do things that probably don't exist on your team. Therefore, I am an asset to you. And the way in which I do that is courageous conversations, managing conflict. Again, I think conflict and communication are two areas that anybody on this planet would appreciate having that skill set on their team. And so I'm like, lead with that. Let them ask questions. I always say in interviews, do your best for the person who's interviewing to put the paper down and go, actually, I now want to have a very different conversation with you because these questions are no longer guiding me to the things that I actually want to know.
Yes. I love that too. I just was having a bunch of interviews and someone stood out so much to me, but not for the role that she was interviewing for. And I was like, you would be fabulous with this. How do you feel about that? You want to go for that? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, and you're willing? Yes. So yeah, totally. I think that's great. Great advice there, because I'm thinking back to when I was on the road, I was really good like at certain things in like, say, a PA role. Okay, well, what the hell is a PA in the normal life? Like,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe management. But no, that's where the skills are everything. Go to jobs based on your skills.
That's it. And not position, because then you cripple yourself a bit, right? I think that it's better to lead with skill, and then if the job itself fits, but like, obviously this young woman was telling you skill and you were like, actually, I see you in something completely different. So I think there's a little bit of that. We've also experienced this even with the Women's Leadership Academy that we have at CMA. When we've been talking to the executive coaches and building out this program, we know that the women that participate say, I know that's really great advice, but it would never work in the music industry. And they really push them to go pause for a second. Don't let that be the reason why you're not hearing something. Hear it. And then how do we make it, applicable to the music industry? And the reality is, in my experience, 12 years now in the music industry, I think that we will hold on to a false narrative. One of the first narratives that I remember hearing is we're 10 years behind coastals, right? We're 10 years behind whatever's happening in any other genre of music, or what is in New York or what is in LA. Says who? There's not a report that so someone has said that, and we're continuing to perpetuate that narrative. No, I'm not okay with it, because I would argue that we're not. And maybe from your perspective or a specific experience, but I think holding on to those false narratives are important. So I always just encourage when they're like, yeah, but that would never work in the music industry. And it's like, well, explain to me why.
Right. Like what's an example of something like that?
Well, I think a lot of times when they're like, how do you have a conversation with your boss if they're an artist?
Yeah.
Or, but the reality is then take artist out of it and say CEO. Or say supervisor. I think we're still getting into our heads like, well, I know, but it's not normal. But like anybody who is not in music has had a boss that operates very similar to a quote unquote artist. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had every kind of boss. And I think at the end of the day, it is how do you give yourself the tools to allow you to have a conversation no matter who it's with. Not, I can't do that because it's an artist. No. It just means we have to shift and we have to adapt and adopt different methods to get what we need kind of across the finish line. And so I'm just a big proponent of, before we make the excuse for it, let's wrestle it to death.
That is fascinating. I haven't even really thought about that. Of how would you talk to your boss if it's a celebrity where everything they get and everyone wants my job? So how could I possibly go against something that might not feel right?
Yep.
Because they could just replace me. And I guess the answer of that is be replaced if it's not for you.
1,000%. And I think, again, don't let fear be the reason why you're not even allowing yourself to have the conversation. So you're talking yourself out of even reconciling whatever feelings or emotions you're having just because you're like, oh, they're an artist and so I can't. It's like, pause for a second. You could choose, by the way, at the end of all of this to still not have that conversation, but at least you've wrestled with it and given yourself the agency to say, this is how I would approach it. Okay, well, what if they say, then maybe you need to leave? Like, walk through, at least go through that exercise. You owe it to yourself. There's no one that's going to value what you bring to the table more than you.
Yes.
And even if you choose with the information that you've gathered that you are not going to move forward with approaching an artist or whomever, a label head or whoever the supervisor is, I still think you owe it to yourself to not follow immediately a narrative that has been set that you've just heard or made assumptions on.
It's kind of like if you speak up, then your whole reputation is going to get ruined. You'll never get a gig again, that kind of thing. And that might have been true in the past, but how would you know unless you have that courage?
Absolutely. And you're the one challenging status quo.
Yeah.
I just always ask myself, like, is that a narrative that and or an experience that I've had, or is it something that I'm taking from somebody else?
This is huge.
I did an academy, a women's academy out of New York, pre-pandemic. It was the most insane, amazing thing that I did. It was a part of an American Express leadership initiative that they were doing. And I remember getting training on how to give thoughtful feedback. And the training was centered in using the word experience versus saying, this person is always late, disrespectful. I'm making all of this up for sake of this conversation. Kind of all of these things that would be feedback that we would give to someone. And I remember the instructor saying, now say, in my experience, this person has been late. In my experience, and she said, because immediately what it does is when you say, in my experience, anything that you haven't experienced, you actually don't comment on. And so rumors, great example of that. So I'm always so mindful when I talk to someone and they're like, oh my gosh, she or he, they're a pill to work with, or they're not fun, or they are this. I'm really careful to go, don't adopt that until you've had that experience. And I think it's incredibly important, really, as women, but as humans, we should just be thinking that way. But in many ways, if we did that, we would actually stop false narratives.
I'm even thinking of, what if someone's like, they're the best? And then you're working with them and you're like, who is saying that? And you're coming up with your own ideas too. And it's going to happen. Anyone's opinions.
Absolutely. I am not everyone's cup of tea, nor am I trying to be. But I love that I am for somebody else. And I think that's the other thing is going like, you don't have to like or love everyone. Be respectful, because I think that is important. But man, base it on your experience. And I will tell you, people that, there is a friend in particular who I just had dinner with. We were having a conversation. I was asking about someone who we are considering for some leadership opportunities. And she was like, I haven't had a great experience. However, it also depends on your experience. And in that moment, it's like, this is the person. You'll start to find the individuals that you can have thoughtful, intentional discussions with individuals about versus those that want immediately for you to pass the same judgment they have simply by having connection to them.
Yes.
And we just shouldn't. Like, it's okay that you like someone that someone else doesn't like, because it's just going to happen.
We just did a DISC assessment. Have you guys done those? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
like the most base level type, I love all the personality stuff, but DISC, and as I'm hiring more and I'm realizing, okay, I can't hire everyone that has the same work style as me.
You don't want that.
No, I can't have more of me. That's too much.
Yes.
No one needs that. So seeing how everyone's strengths play out in their role. And of course our tech side is the I believe. No, the S. No. Whatever. I can't remember it. C. Thank you. The C, because and they have to be C.
Absolutely.
That's my lowest. Oh my God, do we balance each other out?
Absolutely.
So yeah, when you're building your team, when you're hiring, just going based on your personal experience.
Absolutely.
But wait, can we talk about music industry? This whole freaking industry is all about, what about this person?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like, this industry, the way it was built, is basically not allowing for that to happen.
I think we always owe it to get that feedback. We owe it to ourselves to do that. We should have people that understand the role and understand why you're asking for feedback versus, hey, personality fit, whatever. So I think it's important to have trusted advisors that are giving that.
Yeah.
I also think it's incredibly important to go straight to the source and say, hey, I've heard some mixed things and I would love for you to just explain, like, why might someone not have felt like you were a good part of the team?
Yeah.
Like, because at the end of the day, if someone said, I was in a really toxic environment and it was really hard to work in this environment, I think if we solely go on assumptions or experiences of others and not ourselves, we truly would just be hiring friends. Mm-hmm. And by the way,
that's what our industry has been.
Yeah. And so I think it's okay. I don't know. I don't think it's as simple, again, because we're human. Now there are where I would say that it's a little bit different is when it comes to sheer skill. If you have someone who is going to be in social media and they're like, they don't even understand it, it's like, okay, great. We don't need to have that conversation. But when it comes, I try to really pay attention to when someone's critiquing or providing criticism, is it soft, hard skills? Like, what are those things? Social, emotional. When someone says this person's, not nice, it's like, walk me through the example of them not being nice, because your example of not being nice might be direct for me.
Yes.
So again, I think we owe it to ourselves to pull out that information, because it's not like, well, this can is black with white lettering.
Stage water.
It's like, yeah, right. We do love stage water.
Keep going.
But it's more about, this is a human who has emotions, who also likely has to protect themselves in certain situations. Like, I just think we owe it to ourselves to remember the answer isn't always so simple, and we actually have to have due diligence and finding out more.
Mm-hmm. This is crazy. So what is this this women's leadership in CMA?
Yeah. So the Women's Leadership Academy was started post-pandemic, really as a result of two things. One, this has always been happening where women, in my mind, and certainly in the experience that I was having in the industry, was that we lacked community, true core community, not like, oh, these are people that I see at an events and I say hello to, but like, how do we actually rally, provide support, but also allow vulnerability to continue to develop ourselves?
Yeah.
Because I think oftentimes we feel like we have to show up, know all the answers, can't show weakness. And the reality is I think one of the best things that we can do as female leaders is show that we're not perfect and that we all need to continue to develop and push ourselves to be better. And I think women do that when we feel we can take that guard off, do it better than anyone else, to show that it's okay. There is no way that I'm going to know by sheer life experience what I know today that I could have known 10 years ago. I have to experience life in order to become better. So how do we create a safe space where women can build community? How do we build a space where women can start seeing their futures or what they want the industry to be within a group of trusted advisors. So for instance, when I joined the music industry, I definitely was hearing it's really hard to have a family. It's really hard to have a relationship where someone doesn't understand the music industry. It's really hard. It's really hard. Yeah. So why don't we then make sure that we're building a resource that allows us to wrestle with those things again with trusted advisors? And so we felt like it needed to do two things. Coming out of the pandemic, we were definitely hearing that women wanted to exit the music industry because they finally felt like there was some balance in their life. And we were, obviously you were seeing that on the touring side in general, take women out of it. Just, I think coming out of 2020, people were like, I was able to show up for things that I don't ever get to show up for. So how do I not go back to that behavior now that we are pretending that it never happened or that the pandemic didn't exist and that we're just moving forward, versus how do we learn from it and then make sure we apply some different behaviors. So we started it to make sure that women were continuing kind of this education, professional development. And when I say professional development, anything you're learning professionally, I want it to be able to help you personally as well.
Yeah.
In my mind, and certainly in the minds of our coaches, Maddie and Kate on my team are excellent co-pilots in this. And of course, under Sarah's leadership, the fact that we're even able to pull it all together. But I think we started to immediately see there was this, I don't know. It was like this blossoming, if you will, when we had the first cohort and they're like, we're being poured into, but this community that started being built and the vulnerability that I think some of them were experiencing for the first time was so inspiring. And so every year we evolve and we make sure that we're making it better based on anything that we're learning from the previous class. And we will announce our fourth cohort. The women will actually find out next week. And we'll announce it at some point this month or next. But it aims to keep women in the music industry and keep them successful professionals. And I say successful professionals because it's how they define success. But while also making sure that that they just walk taller after the program, that they feel they have a network that they can trust, that they feel that I think one of the best things that I've seen come out of it is breaking stereotypes and assumptions of individuals that walked in. We have a lot of competitors that are in the room together. Some, I think, are learning, wait, if I just take the company name from above you, if I just put that aside and I just listen to you and learn about you as the human, wow, like actually we're incredibly similar. Or I don't know, I feel like there is this nice, like this is how we have to show up within our roles at our companies, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of each other.
Well, in an industry where I think acting pretty masculine is like really valued. And so when you're showing up, putting on that masculine side when you're around other women, it really, like, as we are, there are CMA women in touring meetups, you're around just women. You don't need to like buff up like that anymore. It's a weird, it's been beautiful. And so when you can release that, this isn't competitive. I'm so used to acting like such a dude on the road. Like, I don't have to act like a dude. I think I had a moment where I was like, I just want to be a girl.
Absolutely.
And still get respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, it takes all kinds, all people. So I also would say that there is something profoundly effective in saying the way you are is enough and really meaning that. And so when you're surrounded by other women that are like, you showing up as a mother, you showing up as a single person, or you showing up as a gay person, like I just feel like we can never, ever have too much community. And if we center ourselves again, paying attention and showing up for individuals, then I think we're just going to be in a really good place. I don't know. It has been one of the most rewarding things that I've done at CMA. And it is because I have watched it transform the lives of women whom were feeling like this was no longer going to be an option. This career was no longer going to be an option for them. And now they feel like they at least have tools. Now, tools, by the way, are only good when they are being utilized. And so I think it's really important and incumbent on CMA too for us to make sure as these women come out of the program and are now alumni to continue to push them to use these tools.
Yeah. What are some tools?
I think courageous conversations are a tool. I think building financial stability for yourself is a tool. But again, they have to continue to be used. And I think also reminding ourselves, okay, when I show up and someone is sharing a false narrative about somebody else or sharing their experience, to not adopt that, because I've walked into a room and someone has blown my mind and turned out to be someone completely different based on my experience.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Which is my favorite. It is probably my favorite thing to experience, good and bad, because it reminds me that we're all incredibly unique humans.
Absolutely. When the lights go down, the lasers come up, and the pyro explodes, who makes sure it's unforgettable? Show Live SFX, your ultimate partner in spectacular effects. Founded by industry pros Cole Bibler and Hayden Hale, with over 15 years of live production and touring experience working with legends like Taylor Swift, Paul McCartney, and Beyonce, Show Live SFX specializes in jaw-dropping effects, lasers, pyro, fire, and custom designs. They've ignited the stages of legendary acts like Styx, Foreigner, Nitro Circus, Karen Leon, and dazzled audiences at top corporate events. Elevate your show to a whole new level. Whether it's a massive tour or an exclusive corporate gala, trust Show Live SFX to deliver exceptional brilliance and safety. Visit showlivesfx.com today and ignite your lifestyle. Before I started gigs, I was recruiting, and I got 3 applicants for this tour manager role.
Yeah.
And the first 2 show up, and they are early, they're on time, whatever. They show up, they look presentable. It was a great interview. I was like, nailed it. The third one showed up late. She was like in a greenhouse. She was in a sports bra, all tatted up. And I was like, this is a nightmare. I can't believe I just did that. Oh God. And then the band went with that TM as they're like, that's the vibe. And so also my assumptions of she didn't show up how I wanted her to.
Sure.
As the recruiter, like
Absolutely.
I wanted her to be on time, but the band didn't want that.
Yeah.
They wanted her vibe, and that's
Sure.
what they got.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I mean, just taking any damn assumptions out. I think, have you read the Don Miguel Ruiz book, The Four Agreements? Yeah. I need to read it once a year.
I know there are several like that. I'm on a self-help overload. I'm like, maybe pause for a second, because there are a lot of notes that you're taking down. And
What are you on right now?
I finished. Well, this was actually at the top of the year. As soon as I want to say Glennon Doyle, and it's because she just released a book today, who I also adore. But Let Them, Mel Robbins.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes. I just listened to the audiobook. Yeah.
And again, it's not, by the way, it isn't anything that is earth-shattering.
No. It's like teaching us what boundaries are.
That's it. and again, I think the reason we keep looking for self-help tools is because we keep forgetting that they are tools and we're not applying them. So you just go, okay, I read this book. Oh, that's not helping. It's like, but wait. How are you letting it show up in your life? Try it for a while before you go to the next solution.
Yes.
And I'm trying to do that also with organization. And again, it's, if all you're doing is constantly trying to figure out how to solve things, but you're not actually giving yourself the ability to make it applicable to what you're doing in, day out, you're just going to keep reading self-help books like I am.
Oh my gosh.
So you become addicted. You're like, I'm going to find the solution. You're like, okay, next one.
And
it's because I haven't applied what I've actually been learning.
I wonder if there is a good way. It's just such a good point. I wonder if there's a good way to really track, maybe at the end of the day, if you're journaling, it's like, what
Absolutely.
did I apply today?
Oh, absolutely.
And then congratulating yourself for that. I've been doing that recently of you know what, damn it, I wouldn't have stood up for myself, or I wouldn't have acted in that way a year ago. But
Totally.
look at where, yeah.
I have been journaling, I say professionally versus personally, because I very seldom speak about personal things happening. Of course, sometimes it shows up in a professional setting, so it's naturally going to be in journaling. But we're
about to talk about last time you cried, though. What are you talking about? We're going personal.
So I was pushed by a mentor who just said, trust me, it will come in handy. And after about a year and assessing it, I was like, actually, this is really handy. So when I tell you I have been doing it since I was I even think when I moved to San Francisco, I remember having boxes of these damn journals that went across the country with me. Since I was probably 21. And I try really hard. On bad weeks, twice a week. On really good weeks, I'm doing it 4 to 5 times. And I will tell you, like, I experienced a meeting this week where someone just said, man, I just feel like everyone's stressed out. So I went and reflected on the last 2 years. Same day, last 2 years. Same thing. So you get to show back up and say, actually, I can tell you for a fact, we experience this exact same thing every year.
Oh my God.
So it's because we are 4 weeks out from CMA Fest, or because of wherever the moon is. I'm not sure, but like at least it provides some, because otherwise you get really worked up. Like there's a problem and I got to fix it. And it's like, no, it's just like, just live in this for a minute, because it just is uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not worth it. There isn't a fix. It is just to live in it.
Yeah. And sometimes it feels like if you're going through a stressful situation and you're not feeling stressed, you're not working hard enough or something.
God. I think that is such a female thing.
Yeah, I think so. We're going into another capital raise right now, and I'm not stressed because I know the last 3 times it's come through.
Yeah.
And oh my God, was I stressed every other time.
Sure.
My advisors are like, I'm really proud of like how cool you are. I was like, no, like I've never been this cool in my life. What's happening?
But I think that also comes with confidence, and also you've lived in it.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yes.
So you're getting more comfortable. It's why I mean, again, coming in, or you guys must be really crazy at CMA Fest. And I'm like, I mean, but at this point, we either
so
know
this
it or
is
we don't.
12 years now?
Well, it will be my 11th because of the pandemic. Sorry. But
yes. Let's talk about it.
It's going to be an amazing event, like it always is. I am very, very lucky that I get to think about, and again, of course, I want our fans to have the greatest time ever, but I actually get to think about all the conversations with the industry folks that I want to make sure that I have. Like, hey, tell me about this artist, or there are so many new artists that I like love being able to go side stage. We make sure that right now our team is working on a list of artists who are performing for the first time at Fest. It's somewhere north of 60 right now. And so it's like there are 60 individuals that are going to experience what we get to experience year over year for the first time. That will only happen once.
Wow.
So how are we also making that feel special or unique? But we put this on for the fans, but I learned very, very quickly, especially when I went into the industry relations role, we're actually doing it for the industry too.
100%.
It's the industry's festival. And I'm really mindful of that.
We were just talking to Ryan Welpley, and he was like, I love CMA Fest. I get to go, all my artists, boom, 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 that stage, that. I'm like, that's what an experience for country music.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you're right. Yeah, the whole country music industry.
And it's here. This is home.
Yeah.
The economic impact that we have as a brand and as an industry that weekend, we should all feel proud of, because it is what allows Nashville to be Nashville.
Right.
The fact that we have, a dozen plus countries being represented on our footprint. International is now within my purview at CMA, and looking at all of the internationals that we have coming in. It's like,
whoa,
this is, I don't know. It is a fun event. And I look forward to it in a very different way than I do the CMA Awards. And there is something to be said about just having the thrash, like explaining to, anytime I've had a friend go, okay, I'm coming into CMA Fest, I'm like, great, we won't see each other.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not the person that's like going to go out of my way to try to make sure that I like have a dinner with you or whatever. I'm like, I'm working, enjoy, have a blast. And what I think is really funny, and they're like, I think, okay, so you get back to the hotel maybe sometime around, I don't know, typically 12, 1. And then you're back up, getting ready, making sure that you don't smell, 6:37.
Yeah.
And so you're running on, there's just so much adrenaline. It is why, I mean, really, you come off a fest, by that Wednesday, you're like a zombie. You're like, I just need to get my energy back. But I don't know. I think it's one of the really cool things that our industry has that I'm really proud of.
Not that many festivals are within like a amazing city. You're always in like a nasty field and porta potties. Those are not for me.
Sure.
But they're for people, and that's great.
That's it.
But yeah,
we love our fans.
Love it. Love a festival goer. But yeah, this is an excuse to come to Nashville, experience the city. And my first job when I moved to Nashville was with the Convention Visitors Corps.
Oh, yeah.
So I was working CMA Fest, and it was just like, this is it. I mean, it's massive.
It is massive.
It's a big to-do. But I got my first few jobs from the connections I made there.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's good networking there.
Absolutely.
You can go enjoy the music, but go network.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so that is coming up very soon. Very exciting.
Yeah.
It's getting warmer. Let's hope for good weather.
Yes.
No rain.
Yes, let's hope for good weather.
We're getting all the rain now.
We sure are.
I'm so sick of this. I'm telling you what.
May showers.
Well, I haven't even used these cars, but let's get into it.
That's a good thing.
I know this doesn't have to do with music, but I'm just curious, like, how do you see your political background kind of work, I guess, preparing you for what you're doing now? And what did you do exactly in politics?
So the job was to make sure that, so Senator Dodd, who was running for president, to make sure that there were talking points that he had prior to coming to a market. And that is any politician. So when a politician is out, campaigning, no matter what they're campaigning for, they need to be able to have these stories, again, going back to this human piece. And they need to be able to have these stories that explain why whatever they are thinking critically about is important. So if it's education, if it's healthcare, if it's whatever the talking point is.
Yeah.
But you need real life examples from those communities. And someone is out there collecting that information. And so if it's kind of, what I think is really interesting is when you think about the term influencer today, it meant something different. We didn't use it necessarily in that way, but you were always trying to be in a market and find out who the influencer was in that market. And we don't mean like, again, who is on social media with this, this large following that didn't really exist back then, showing age, and that's embarrassing. But what you did want to do is you wanted to make sure that you were going to some of the key employers in the market. And then within those employers, who had the most influence? Was it a woman that worked in the cafeteria that everyone paid attention to, who knew everything, who had a really interesting story? Again, it was figuring out how you brought a human element when they were speaking about policy. Because anytime you are watching a politician and they're talking about a specific policy, the reality is most people don't know how that matters to them.
Yeah.
Like, how is this going to impact me? And so you always have to show this human element. I think the other part that is incredibly important is making sure that they feel like they have been seen. Again, going back to humans, what do we want? We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be understood. And just making sure that you're crafting stories that allow that candidate to feel really connected to that community every time they are in, a community.
And have them connect with them too. Yeah.
And what's interesting is I was having a conversation, this was several years ago, with some folks from a label, specific, a promo team.
Yeah.
And when they were telling me how, I'm again very curious and inquisitive, how they were going about radio tours, I remember thinking to myself, man, you could really be applying some of the things that politicians do when they're out campaigning. They make sure, I mean, they have folks on the team that are making sure that, you know, they're looking at headlines. Was there, I'm going to, you know, make it up, but was there a bus accident? Was there a fire of a building that we should be aware of? Was there more loss of life than 7 or 10? So that way you could make sure that you're saying those things. So imagine if you're an artist and you then went to radio and you're like, by the way, I just want to say like prayers for so-and-so, like connecting yourself to the community is what politicians know how to do really, really well.
Wow.
So, but again, I think we, again, center ourselves in music as we should. But when we lose that human element, if the music isn't hitting, or they may just go like, oh, that's not for me. What I will tell you, and I swear if there were research on this, I really feel like I would be completely correct. When you meet an artist and you go, they are kind, they paid attention, they asked me questions. Again, if artists took the politician route, and I've seen several artists do this.
Yeah.
I truly believe that you will adopt somewhat of a biased ear. And I believe camps do this constantly. Whether you're a label, whether you're a manager, I think it's hard to, it doesn't mean I don't think it can't be done. I think it's hard to think critically about something you love. When you start to truly love and have admiration for a human, it is hard to imagine the thing that they're passionate about or the thing they're producing not being great.
Taylor Swift.
So I think that's and people ask me all the time, like, oh, what kind of music? And I go, you know, what's so embarrassing? Like, I don't tend to follow music. I tend to follow individuals who I adore.
Wow.
And their music just sonically to me, I think I just like it. And it's because I know I know that the music industry does not want to hear that. But for me, I care so much about the human.
This is how you create stands. Like, this is the whole era of stands.
Sure.
What is it? I don't even know what it stands for, but I think it's like super fan forever.
For sure.
Whatever
right?
it is. Whatever you put out,
You're
I'm
interesting.
A fan of. Yeah. Totally. I mean, when I just thought of Taylor Swift because she made this huge genre leap and most people followed her.
Yeah.
She's putting out an album that might be good. I don't know. I'm not a stan, but like she might put an album out. Sure. They're going to love it. They're going to eat it. They're going to buy it. All the things.
Yeah.
But it's golly, to be a politician, it's like you have to be, and I feel like in all the conferences, all the things, all teams are talking about how to make your artist very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But it's like, how much do you allow an artist to be vulnerable versus the brand of being vulnerable? Like, what is the artist?
You're right. I mean, and it's, again, that is so complicated.
Yeah.
Also, politicians now are very different than 20 years ago, 10 years ago. There was this, I think vulnerability was very normal. And now like there really is, I think politicians really see the value or they're valuing, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like to the right word. They're valuing power versus being centered in what I would say is servant leadership. When I was a poli-sci major, and I very much felt that the role of a politician was to serve its constituents.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to serve all constituents. So how do you prioritize the things that matter versus I can't be all things to all people, but I'm going to run on this education policy. I want to run on, whatever it is. And now I think there's less conversation about the policy and more on I have the power. And so policy comes second, which is
interesting.
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a shift, but again, as the person who's inquisitive about human behavior, I'm like, what is happening within us that has allowed that to shift to say we care less about the things impacting people and we care more about is the person powerful?
Well, I mean, that's like on social media, are they riding a private jet? Okay, they must be worthy of my attention now.
Sure.
And it's kind of like, we just had another conversation of like, well, these brand new artists they're spending the money on a tour bus for probably their social media to be able to post that they're on a tour bus.
Yeah.
Where they could probably make money instead of lose money on a tour if they just kind of slummed it a little bit, scrappy a little bit.
Sure.
I think, social media probably is the difference. Is like, how can you appear like you should have respect, maybe?
Yeah. It is, I don't know, that we're at a fascinating time, I think, with how we consume what we consume.
Yeah.
Because the vast majority of society cannot afford or live in what they are consuming.
Right. Oh.
And I think that's always been the case, but for whatever reason, I feel like when I was younger, it was like, yeah, I'll work really hard for it, but like you're not able to touch it. And now it's like, how can I pretend that I can? And the unfortunate part is you're watering down yourself, right? It's like, no, I'm actually really good with what I am, who I am, how I'm showing up. But I think it's that confidence thing. Again, going back to, man, I think we all as humans have got to spend some time on ourselves, finding those things that allow us to be more confident, more comfortable, so we're not searching for it in this abyss.
Right.
Because, by the way, you're not. We all know. You ask, I can't even remember the statistic that I read recently where it's like, you become a millionaire and then you're like, but how then do I become like a multimillionaire? And then and so you're always chasing this thing. And I think chasing is good unless you're thinking because it's bringing you happiness.
Yeah.
And then I go, I think you need to look inward. You might actually need to live on an island in like a hut and sell necklaces. I'm not sure, but
this is actually a question I love asking people. If you were one day, you have nothing, how would you come back? Like you are living right now on a beach, nothing. You have nothing to your name. How would you go, come back to where you are? Or like, how would you get back on your feet? This is such an out of the...
I love it. I am driven by a challenge. So it isn't like for me, I think that what I would do is I would assess where I am and go, what is an issue that I keep running into?
Yeah.
Is it, if I'm living on a beach, I'm going, is it infrastructure? Is it, we are killing the ocean? Is it, I'm finding the thing that has an issue and then I'm going, I am a critical thinker and I love to problem solve. So put me in and let me help you do that. And then I think over time, anytime I think you can be a critical thinker, opportunities will just naturally start to appear.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have to seek them out too, but I think I will always follow a challenge that humans are responsible for finding solutions for.
Are we responsible for finding all the solutions?
Listen, I think technology is a heck of a thing and it is sure being helpful right now.
Right?
Really helpful. And we shouldn't be afraid of it.
Thank you.
We should figure it out how it enhances what we do, makes us more effective, makes us more efficient, because it does.
Yep.
When you see it as a tool,
yep,
and not necessarily as, to me, it isn't the solution. It's a tool to allow you to have more solutions or more effective solutions.
Yes.
But I think as long as we have humans on this planet, we have to be involved in all of it.
So, what is, or the few things like recent, maybe whether it's some kind of AI or some tech that you're really finding value in right now?
I love Chat GPT. I love it. If you are at CMA, you know that I refer to it as Chad, because I refer
to it as my husband.
Yeah, I just think okay, Chad, come at me. But I also have spent time learning and understanding the functionality behind it. How do I prompt it to then prompt me to then pull out what ultimately I don't want to just put in solve this.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to have it's almost like I want to have a conversation with this tool and then let it allow me to think bigger.
Yes.
Which it has absolutely done. It was critical in a meeting that I had today. And again, I do not believe that it should replace your work. I think it should enhance it.
Exactly.
But it's also incumbent on us to figure out what it can do. Mm-hmm. When I first started using it, it was literally me saying, I have these 5 ingredients. What dinner can I make?
Yes.
And it was amazing. And now I could have put that in Google too, right? But it was so instant. And then I was actually talking to a professor who is going to actually do a session with our members in August, so more to come, about how to maximize something like augmented intelligence. But his name is Jules. He was amazing. I had this conversation with them yesterday or Monday at some point this week. And he said, it is when you allow people to understand what it can do versus what you think it can do. He's like, you unlock all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And it's like as simple as here is a 6-page document, synthesize it for me. Mm-hmm. I don't have enough time before my next meeting and I have to be in 20 minutes. So synthesize it for me.
Yes.
So it's like, at least you're walking in with some information. Should you have figured out, the one thing we all don't have right now, we don't feel like we have as a society is time. So how do we lean on that to allow us to not feel terrible showing up? Because there is nothing that I hate more than showing up to a meeting and going, I'm not prepared. And if I can have this tool that allows me to at least feel like I'm walking in with 20% more information than I had before I got there, then I feel like I'm not wasting people's time.
And to relate this to more music industry too, imagine what, I haven't had to do any of this, but like imagine routing and any planning,
Sure.
anything with an event.
Sure.
My goodness, it's only a tool. Why would you do really long division when you have a calculator?
Yep.
It's like, why would you write a lot of copy when you can tell it how to write copy?
Yeah.
What you want it to say. Why
Absolutely.
would you do so many things, save time?
Yeah.
Think bigger now. Yeah, I think it is allowing you to have more of the human interactions because you're not reading a 6-page document anymore.
Sure. Well, and he was saying to me, I said, I'm so curious. His entire background was in computer science. So I'm like, at what point in time did you become an adopter? And said, we have to go all in. And he said, when it started actually being utilized, and he was talking about a conversation he was having with a peer or a friend, and they asked whether it was ChatGPT or another function, what would the world look like if we didn't have odd numbers? And what the response was, he said, the minute that response came through, I thought to myself, this is far more advanced than we've given it credit for. And I thought to myself, this is someone who has obviously centered their entire life's work in technology.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, okay, because again,
what's the answer?
It's probably some long, who knows? He was just like, I was so blown away by what the answer was because you clearly are like, time looks different. If the world as we know it is different. And the fact that whatever that answer was, let someone who has, again, been doing this for their entire career go, interesting, because no way could we think
that
critically
sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean that, right? Like humans are going to be really good because we are going to understand empathy and we're going to understand emotion in ways that it isn't.
Exactly.
But I love, even if I'm like really hot about a email that I'm about to send and I get to put it in and say, I need you to soften this. Because I don't love how I'm showing up, but as a human, I can't push that down because I'm angry.
Wow.
But I need it to soften because that isn't how I want to show up. But I know, look, it takes me a minute to calm myself because I'm a very passionate person on both sides. And so if I have this tool that can allow me to communicate better with others while I'm in that, and what's nice is the minute I read whatever it's come back to, it starts to calm me.
Right?
Because it's like, look, it's really not that big of a deal. Like,
Absolutely.
You just need to get out of this emotion.
Yeah.
So I see it as, again, it's therapeutic, right? It's helping me not be crazy.
I love that thinking too. It's kind of crazy how you'll read, I mean, in any case, but especially with emotion. I love that you kind of can feel it as a human.
That's it.
But you don't have to give your emotion to someone else and then cause issues.
That's it.
Keep business.
That's it. I mean, I even remember early on a mentor saying, anything that's making you, incredibly emotional, wait a day or wait the night or wait a few hours. But sometimes we don't have a few hours. Like, we have to give feedback quickly.
Yeah.
And rather than being the person who you don't want to work with, how do I make sure that I allow myself to feel it, but also allow business to move forward as well? Like, I think it's just a tool.
I love it. I didn't even read a question, so we're just going to go into a rapid fire. Okay. Because this was such a cool conversation.
I mean, it's all over the place. We've covered literally everything. The fact that JCPenney was brought up is also alarming, but
love it.
Here we are.
And how you can do good in JCPenney. Love that. Okay. Number one, first concert that you ever attended.
Stevie Ray Vaughan with my father.
Fabulous.
I know. It's not normal. I have a pretty cool father.
And based on the conversation, you said that a lot of times the music you like is based on someone, like an artist that you love. Do you have a top three that you love?
Oof.
Yeah, tough question.
No way. I think if I actually were showing up sonically to say, like, I like the sound, but because I'm just I just love people way too much.
Who do you want to see at the Sphere?
Oof. I will tell you, I mean, the Eagles were up there for me. And
you saw it.
And I did get to see it. And
so cool.
But again, why do I love the Eagles? Because of the nostalgia that it gave to me in my childhood, because I loved watching the emotion that it brought to my parents and what they experienced. And so it's forever with me. So I just love the Eagles. So I loved that experience. I would also say, like, I like individuals that kind of surprise you, like an Alan Stone or Cassius Culpepper. Right now, I just love him.
Yeah.
I like really soulful. But I also grew up on, like, really hardcore rap. I love Wu-Tang. I love Outkast. I really do love all kinds of music, all sounds.
I'm glad you're in music now. Yeah. What's your favorite venue to see shows?
Oh, man. My favorite venues are the ones that aren't venues. Like when like, I just got back from Live in the Vineyard, like seeing artists in vineyards. Very cool. So I like when you are somewhere and you're like, I don't know that I expected to see an artist perform here, but they're performing.
Yeah. Also Vineyard. Hello. Yep. I like that.
Yep.
What is the most underrated event that CMA puts on?
Most underrated event. Oh, well, I don't know that I think it's underrated, but I mean, I really think the touring awards are just one of the most sincere, sweetest events that we do for individuals that ask for very little.
Yeah.
So it's I just think it's sweet. Now, again, it's filled. I mean, there's a lot of masculinity in that room. Don't get me wrong, but I actually have very sweet conversations. Like, I don't know. To me, it's not underrated in our industry. It's underrated because I don't think that the typical person could understand how beautiful that event is.
The typical person doesn't even know who is working backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really sweet event.
The touring community also really loves it. So
good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm so glad to hear that.
And what is maybe some of the best leadership advice that you've ever received or that you live by?
I think probably, again, we kind of talked.
We definitely talked a bunch of things.
But I think making sure that you're kind of checking yourself to make sure that you're not getting ahead at someone else at the expense of someone else is really important. And I also think I'm always really mindful that someone else is watching. And I don't mean it like I'm terrified of, what is public, but it's conducting yourself in a meeting. There's no one that's going to be harder on themselves than me if I don't feel like I'm showing up as my best self, because I think we have a responsibility as leaders to make sure that we are cultivating and shepherding, not telling the next generation what leadership is and what to do, but living in the behavior that we want them to ultimately have. And so I think some of the best advice that I've been given is just remember that you are always coaching even when you're not coaching. And
I love that.
I think that's really important. You could say, oh, well, I don't even manage a team. And it's like, but somebody is watching.
Live how you want to be to represent your life. Just live it.
I want what you see, how you see me act in business is how you're going to see me act personally.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't get to the end of all the journals you have. You still separated business and personal.
I actually don't do a personal journal at all. My therapist might tell you that I should do one, but for me, I have always, working through this, most of my energy comes from my profession, and it always has. Most of my passion comes from my profession and always has.
Yeah.
And so when I can offload that or at least reflect on it, then I give myself more opportunity to, have more success, I guess, personally. It doesn't mean I'm not flawed, by the way. There is plenty of flaw to go around. But for me, and again, this is for most people, when you think about how you spend your day, you're typically spending your day between 8 and 14 hours of what we call is our profession. We all know the music industry is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so, and everything that I've ever done, because again, you're surrounded by humans who are pulling energy, taking energy, and you're having to also get energy from them. I've always just done professional journaling.
So fascinating. You are the best.
You're the best.
Thank you for doing this, Tiffany.
Happy to do it.
And how can people know more about you or know more about CMA and get involved?
Well, the first thing that I would say is if you are in the music industry, not just country music, you actually can be a member of our organization. We have a tier of membership for anybody who is in music, and our team thoughtfully thinks about ways and benefits that we can provide to you that allow it to be advantageous at $25 a year. If you are in country music, be a part of the organization. Honestly, take the financial piece out. It's like, oh, they just want our money. It isn't that. It is, I believe that CMA has a responsibility to pour into our community. And the only way you're going to get all of the benefits and these amazing resources is if you are in the community. If someone complains and doesn't like something in CMA, the first thing I say is, are you a member and are you engaged? Because if you're not, it's hard to be critical when you're not doing your part. So be a member, be engaged, show up, participate. And if there is a resource that I could tell you that you could be utilizing, it is our staff. We have an amazing staff. And this staff shows up every day on behalf of the entire country music community. So utilize us, ask questions. If you need something you're not getting, you can't find something, I feel like we're excellent facilitators. We're excellent connectors. We are hungry. We're centered in curiosity as an organization. And so we oftentimes are, I think, doing the work of a lot of others that people aren't even aware of, just so that way we can make sure we're continuing to steward and move the industry forward.
I love it. Thank you, Tiffany, for doing this.
Appreciate
you. Good. Okay. Sit right here. We're going to take a quick picture while we're seated. Okay. And then we're going to take one when we stand up too.
Okay.
That was fabulous.